Um, and also we have a program where we're trying to develop animation shows, which is Ideatoon. And in that context, we bring in some international mentors. And because we're already bringing them in, and we want everyone to take advantage of their knowledge and their experience, is that we also do these talks as well. So with that, I want to introduce our first guest of this evening from the sunny California. Well, it's sunny here as well, but she is the creator of GOLDIE. She is a head writer. She is an expert in show development. So I know if you're here, hopefully if you're here, it's because you have an idea, you want to develop a show, and I think we'll get a nice insight into how that world works today with our first guest of this evening, Emily Brundige.
Thank you, Christian, and I'm really happy to be here because, in fact, I have a lot of experience in animation development, so much so that about a couple years ago, I started doing talks. I wrote a book. I wrote the book on animated show development. It's called A Guide to Developing Animated Shows, so perfect. And I've been invited to talk at different festivals about development. And this past year, I got invited to make a video for this summit called Kidscreen, which used to be a place where all the animation producers and executives would go to make deals and stuff. But unfortunately, I killed it. And it's not going to be around any longer because the first time I went turned out to be the last time that Kidscreen was going to exist. But I really do, I was thinking about how best to share my knowledge, and I hope you don't think this is a cop-out, but I'm first gonna show you a video that I worked really hard on that has really great tips on refining your pitch. So you already have an idea, but now that you're building the pitch, how can you make it better? And that's what this video answers. But I will be talking afterwards, so don't worry. But I thought it would be helpful, so. Oh, I think the sound. Oh, I think it is, yeah. I hear it.
Hi, I'm Emily Brundige, and I create cartoons for a living. Over the past decade, I've pitched and sold 8 original animated shows. Most recently, I created my own original animated show, GOLDIE, for Apple TV. It's been nominated for 2 Emmys, including Best Writing. In 2025, I wrote A Guide to Developing Animated Shows. It's been embraced by the animation community and praised by creators like Joe Brum, Jorge Gutierrez, and Lauren Faust. Today, I want to help you refine your pitch before Kidscreen.
For
Think
Ideatoon.
of this as a final checklist to make sure your pitch is clear, compelling, and buyer ready. Let's jump in. Here's what buyers are looking for in 2026. They want to understand your show instantly. They want a clear hook that feels fresh and easy to explain. A protagonist with a strong drive and point of view. A world that supports its stories and characters. A story engine that sustains episodes. And the thing most often overlooked? Relevancy. Why this show matters right now and who it's for. Before anything else, get clear on why this show needs to exist right now. And why are you the person to tell the story? What personal perspective, experience, or emotional truth is baked into your premise? Buyers aren't looking for trend chasing anymore. They're looking for authenticity, and so are audiences. Your elevator pitch should be short, sharp, and irresistible. Start with the hook, that thing that makes it stand out, and make sure it's baked directly into your premise sentence. Then confidently state the fundamentals, your target demographic, episode length, and tone. When defining tone, you can use comps, but only if they truly clarify the vision. For example, when I pitched GOLDIE to Apple TV, I used, "It's Hilda meets Clifford the Big Red Dog." Stick to 1 or 2 comps max. Otherwise, it just muddles the pitch. Your characters are the beating heart of your series.
Sorry about the corporate
Your
music.
main character has to be active, not passive. Their wants, flaws, and emotional needs need to be driving the stories. Your supporting characters have to exist to create contrast and conflict. They challenge the main character, reveal different sides of them, and help or hinder their growth. There's no room for filler characters or wallflowers. Your world should feel specific and distinctive, like you've actually given it some thought. Ask yourself, what makes this world different from others? And how does it support the stories you want to tell? Establish rules early. For example, is your world grounded in reality, fantasy, or both? What's possible? What's not? A clear, distinct world gives buyers confidence and makes them want to come play in your sandbox. Your story engine is the repeatable narrative loop that powers your show. What triggers your stories? What is your character's central conflict? And what recurring problems grow out of it? For example, in my show GOLDIE on Apple TV, GOLDIE's big emotions and desire to belong constantly lead to misunderstandings that power the stories. If your engine is strong, you should be able to generate dozens of episodes. Or, hire a writer who can.
Ignore that.
Present 3 to 5 episode ideas. And don't spend too long explaining them. Just get the general points across. Each one should demonstrate your show's hook, your world's rules, and your character's central conflict, whether that's emotional growth or becoming a math quiz master. These are your proof points, showing how your premise can expand to many episodes and power the series. Your pilot episode should deliver on the promise of your premise. Close the pitch by reminding them why your show is so special, why it's memorable, why kids and parents will fall in love with it, why it stands apart in the marketplace. End with one clear, sticky sentence. The one they'll repeat to their bosses after the meeting. Buyers want to fall in love with a great idea. Your job is to help them do that. If you want to go deeper, my book, A Guide to Developing Animated...
Yeah, so I hope you liked that video, because that was it. No, not really. But that was a video for people who are further along in their pitches. Now I want to talk about just like the ingredients of what makes a show. It may sound simple, but these things are harder than you think to get clear on. So the first thing you need when developing a show is you have to ask yourself, what do you care about? You know, and it doesn't matter, like you could be really passionate about pizza, but you have to be passionate about your show idea and the stories you want to tell. And that will lead you, hopefully, to answer the question, what is the show? You need to really know what your show is. And, you know, the elevator pitch, although we rarely find ourselves in elevators with executives, the idea is that you have a really quick, concise way to communicate what your show is, so that if you're sharing it with someone who you find in passing or doesn't have a lot of time, you can quickly tell them about your show and they get it immediately. But this is also true for when you have more time and you're pitching your show, because before you get into the weeds of the lore, the details about the characters, you want to make sure that the audience who you're pitching to knows, first of all, what the show is, what it's about. Sounds so simple, right? But yet I see people kind of pass over this and miss this step. And when you form your log line, or this quick elevator pitch, you want to make sure that within it you have your hook. And by hook, I mean the thing about your show that makes it stand out from any other show. That's the hook. That's the thing that's going to grab people and say, wow, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. And so you want to make sure that in that short amount of time, you're expressing what that hook is too. So not just what the show is about. But the next question you want to answer is who the show is for. And, oh yeah, so here's this is the range of things that you might care about, right? And sometimes it helps when you're talking about your show, to give a few comps, like I said in the video, just because it's really hard to get tone across in a pitch Bible. It's a lot easier to get tone, like the sense of humor, or whether it's a drama or dramedy or adventure series in a pilot, like a pilot animatic or short, but it's really hard in a pitch Bible. So it can be helpful if you can relate your show back to a couple shows that most people know about in animation. But not too many, or it's just like you're just throwing everything into the kitchen sink and it's going to be confusing. And then you should know who the show is for. I know a lot of us want to think like it's for everyone, which you might feel, but when you're pitching to someone who might want to fund it, you want to show them that you know who your specific audience is, your demo. And the most common demos, as we know, are preschool, 6 to 11, like elementary school kids and tweens, and adult. And then there's also YA, which is becoming more popular, I think, with indie animation and anime. But be clear what your demo is. And then this question, why now? Again, when I was writing this book, I thought it was a question that a lot of people, even producers, really experienced creators, forget to ask themselves. And why should we care about this right now? Which is like, you have to, it's fine to be in your own bubble of your show's world and your own taste and everything, but it's also important to look around at the landscape of other shows that exist and have existed, and movies, whatever you're pitching, because you do want it to be different. You do want to make sure that you're not just repeating something we've already seen. And when I talk about relevancy, this is not just about looking at the show landscape or TV landscape, but it's paying attention to what's happening in the world. And, you know, there are important issues, like right now, so many, and you want to show that your show is kind of vibing on what people are feeling right now. It's kind of hard to put into words, but when I was creating my shows, my last 2 shows, I think I was coming from a place where I was vibing on a feeling. So when I created my GOLDIE short, it was a short before it was a show that I produced. It was in 2016, and Trump had just been elected, and I felt completely squashed as a woman. And so all I wanted to do was create a girl who took up space. And I thought, well, how can I do that? And a giant girl became the answer. And although it's so subtle, like you don't watch the show, it's not preachy, you don't think like, oh, this is a feminist show or something, but in its subtle way, it was kind of rebellious in that way. And then with Strawberry Vampire, my newest series, you know, it was inspired by my own family of Jewish Hungarian immigrants immigrating to America, but also the subject of immigrants in America is so huge and so important and so underrepresented in media because of the powers that be, and it's really sad. And so I love that I'm creating a show that speaks to that group of people who aren't really feeling seen or heard right now. And you see, it's not like you have to be preachy or super socially aware, but it's just like, I think you have a better chance of selling someone on your show if it feels fresh and like has this kind of awareness of what's going on. So again, the basic ingredients for developing a show and having a solid show is knowing what you care about, what is the show, being able to answer that question clearly and concisely, who is it for, and why now? Now go create something. No, but I also, you know, I was talking about story engine, and that's also very important because you may have a show that you're really excited about, but when you finally get to the place where you're trying to come up with stories, you may realize, oh shit, this doesn't have legs. I can't come up with stories about this. It's just not inspiring stories. And so you want to make sure that it will, because, you know, theoretically, if you have a season of episodes, you need that premise to be able to generate multiple episodes, and you want it always to relate back to the promise of your premise, whatever it is you pitched. And so you want to make sure that it's solid and something that inspires you, whether it's like a character with a really big personality who's always looking for a new adventure, hopefully more specific than that, but like, you know, finding that North Star that you can come back to find inspiration for ideas. And you know, you heard a lot about my book, but I actually think like it is really helpful for putting together a pitch. And if you're interested in getting, it's an ebook, you can go to my website, Emily Brundige, and I created a discount for you guys, so you can get 15% off with Toon 26. So TOON 26, if you're interested. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of animation and get real with you guys. Because as you might know, we've had a little bit of a dry spell. in the industry, and it's affecting the world, you know, because there are many countries who provide animation for US shows, and we're all being hit by this. But I am actually really excited and optimistic because I see a light for creators right now with indie animation. Now, I know it's not easy because it's hard to create things without a lot of money, right? But there are tools that are really helping, like Kickstarter. I'm seeing so many indie projects, and really some not by creators who are well known that are getting fully funded to do a pilot, whatever. I mean, there are just so many ways to create things now. There are, you know, free animation programs or cheap programs that you can animate with. And then there's this democracy of YouTube and the internet, which is like the algorithm is going to, you know, not the algorithm, I should say, audiences are going to decide what they like. And which I think is really cool, because in the studio system, what they would do is they'd grab like a group of kids who are already kind of trained to give feedback on shows and get their opinions, and then that was like the word. So I think this is really cool, and that we have that transparency of how the things we create are doing, and we can pivot, like change things up a little bit and notice what things people are liking. And of course you want to keep to your vision. I just mean like you can tune it a little bit. And what I also see happening is like these studios don't know what they're doing right now. The industry kind of broke itself, and they spent all this money trying to create content to keep up with Netflix. Now they're all in debt, and they're not greenlighting a lot of shows. But meanwhile, Netflix is coming to YouTubers who have a following and asking them to make deals to put their content on Netflix. So what I see happening is this shift of power coming back to creators. Because if you build an audience, a fan base for your project, then you're undeniable. You know, that's what everyone wants right now. And I think it's really cool that like we all really have a chance to make something and like put our stamp out there. So I really encourage you to not be hesitant and just try experimenting. And if you have an idea you like, just like getting it out there. And you know, if you start early, you can always grow. I mean, you have to make stuff to get better. So that's what I really encourage you guys to do. And I've had a lot of ups and downs in my career. I started making a web series for YouTube called Pubertina, and then I spent about a decade in the industry writing and developing different shows and creating shows. And now I'm back on being scrappy on YouTube. So like even me at my age and with my experience, I still need to be resourceful. And so I think if you can develop those powers of being scrappy and resourceful and finding ways to make stuff happen, that'll put you in a really good place. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll leave. Oh, well, sorry, one more thing. Would you guys like to see a sneak peek of Strawberry Vampire, episode 2? Great, because I have one to show you.
Oh.
Is there a way to turn the volume up? Or not? This is full volume here.
Put the volume back to the computer and then you can like.
Oh, okay, okay.
So let me.
Yeah, thanks.
Here, that'll change the sound back from the speakers, and you can just press it up. Yeah.
Was it better before? Darn.
Now that it's, I think you might be able. Yeah.
Granny, wanna come over to my house? My dad says we can look at his vintage soda bottle collection. No, friend Jonathan. Your father... bottle lover is most kind, but today I am feeling a bit strange. You sure?
Should we go back to
Yeah, I
the
think
other way?
yeah, let's go
Okay.
back.
'22, never been opened.
I'll start it. I'm kidding. We all have to be pretty quiet to hear it.
Granny, wanna come over to my house? My dad says we can look at his vintage soda bottle collection. No, friend Jonathan. Your father's old bottle lover is most kind, but today I am feeling a bit strange. You sure? He has an Admiral Fizz from 1922. Never been opened. I say no!
What's her deal?
It's that weird girl.
Yeah. Okay. Then, I'll see you, Franny. Oh no, friend Jonathan, what is wrong with me today? The swinging of moods, the odor of moldy strawberries in my nose, and why is the top of my back so itchful? Is me a little fuzzy? No, please no, not the strawberry patch, not here. Not now. Hold on, must hold on.
Here, let me help you. Ooh, almost. There. Oh, look at that. What an awkward yet special moment.
Okay, Doc, much thanks. You go now.
Margot!
Come here!
If you ever need anything, just
Now, Margot!
Ugh. Ugh.
Ah!
No, bad Franny. Why you do this now? This can't be happening. I was already weird new girl. Now I am weird new bat? This cannot be. Look at these wings. Ugh, oh, so leathery. And these ears. My head is like 50% ears now. Okay, breathe. Okay, Doc. Just get home.
Goodness!
Thanks, guys. So yeah, that was a sneak peek of the next Strawberry Vampire episode. It's coming out August 15th, so I hope you guys watch it. It's a full 19 minutes. Which I can do because it's just an animatic. And that's another thing, guys. People watch animatics now. So it can be a lot more cost effective for telling your stories. Just saying. I guess I'll leave it now for questions if anyone has any questions. Yeah?
Hi. Thank you so much for showing us the sneak peek from Strawberry Vampire. And I wanted to ask you if you have like two questions. One is if you have any advice for writing comedy, because I know that a lot of your shows are like very comedy focused, especially for kids. And the second one is if you have any advice for like reaching like a wider audience, because I know that a lot of it's just like posting it and seeing how it goes, but like, have you done like anything in particular to like maybe the show to reach more people? Because I feel like that's also an issue when posting indie animation online. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? Like, every so often you can put something out there and all of a sudden it goes viral or whatever and gets 1 million views. But I know that rarely happens. So another thing to focus on, and there's just kind of no way around this, but building your community so that you can get your friends to share it and they can get their friends to share it is really important. Or if you know someone with a big following, ask them, hey, could you post like in stories about my show? You know, like you need to be willing to just ask people for favors, I think is a thing I learned, even though it might feel awkward. So trying to grow your community, going to animation events, making postcards about your project, you know, going to festivals, handing them out, doing like really grassroots, you know, can help too, which I did with Strawberry Vampire. But then there are things you can do that can create momentum. Like you can start early marketing your show and getting stuff out there, and then eventually if you do a Kickstarter, if you feel like ready, and don't set your goal too high, but that can also create momentum for a project. If more people are seeing, oh, there's a new Kickstarter, oh, it's almost fully funded, just like any kind of event that you can do with it, like make it into an exciting event when your short comes out, get it announced on a podcast or YouTube channel. I don't know, just you gotta try everything, really. Yeah, gotta hustle.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I made a little piece of Strawberry Vampire. Can I give it to you at the end?
Of course. Thank you so much.
Hola, a ver si luego me pueden traducir. ¿Por qué hay una brecha entre las audiencias de niños de 11 años adultos? ¿Qué pasa con los adolescentes?
Why is there a gap between the 11 years old and the content for adults?
Why is there a gap? Because at least in American culture, people look at animation in very specific boxes. But you know, it's not this way in other cultures. So that's a good point. Like, it's not that way in Japan. Animation, the same animation is for everyone, you know? There's no differentiation. So I do think the more international we become with media, the less that stuff will matter. But I also just mean when you're pitching it to someone who can help you, not so much what you think about your show. You know, like you may know, well, I think kids and adults will enjoy this, but just, you know, if you're talking to anyone with money, they might want you to have a clear idea. Yes, in the purple.
Hi. What if the problem is not? I have an idea. I know how to world build. I even did 2 pitches. I have everything that would be basically the skeleton. I even know where I want to go with it. But my problem is I do not have resources. Like, I don't know how to animate. I don't know how to make music. I don't have money. I don't have friends. I'm not a person that's very into Twitter or Instagram. I'm a very off-the-grid person. I have a Tumblr. I did submit things, but as expected, it's basically dead. So what do I do then? Because my problem is, I know what I want to do. I know who I want to help. I know what I want. I know how to draw on paper. I have a tablet, but you know, I don't have the practice with it. So I basically don't have the big hooks that grab people's attention to get them to see, oh, this is a very good idea. I want more of this. So what do I do then? Because
for that last problem, get feedback from people you trust and listen to the feedback.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes if a few people give you the same feedback, it might be true.
Yeah.
Something you're missing. But the other thing is, like, folks, we're all introverts, basically, like in animation, and we have to push ourselves. We have to get ourselves out of our rooms and go to events like this and hand out information about your show. And the more you do it, the more likely you are to maybe find some collaborators. But there's kind of no way around what I call the hustle.
Because if you want an idea of a place where everybody can actually relax, that's basically one I did, but I don't know, maybe I did something that didn't grab their attention specifically, or the idea sounded general, but the concept I wanted to develop was very intimate.
Well, don't give up on your show idea if you love it, just because someone said they didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I spent an entire year working all by myself on 2 pitches. I submitted them, and neither of them passed this next stage, and as expected, they didn't tell me why not. So I'm like...
If you draw and write, can you do like a zine?
Like what?
Like a little comic or a novella or something?
Oh, I actually did, in one of them, I did the dynamics, like triangle dynamics between all the main characters. I did like 4 of those.
But I mean, if there's any way that you can produce a story from your show in some way.
It would be very basic because, like I said, I know how to draw, but more objects, creatures, characters, backgrounds, not so much. So basically, I could make...
You could do a novella, though, a short story or something.
Well, I did a little comic, a 2-panel comic, but it didn't get any...
You gotta keep trying. You know, you can't wait for someone else to give you permission.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Anyways, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, sorry if I talk too much.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Hey, I know it's hard.
Hi, nice to meet you. It was great, the sneak peek of Strawberry Vampire, and I'm really looking forward to look at it. I wanted to know if, from your perspective, have you seen producers inclining to one specific animation technique nowadays? What is like the industry looking at, and how can someone pitch to those producers and studios their own animation technique that they want? Either they want 3D, 2D, stop motion, whatever. How do you reach that middle point that does not sacrifice the essence of your project, but also make it costly for doing several episodes?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I say, like, realistically, instead of trying to pitch a full series, try to get a short produced or a series of shorts, because then you are being more practical. And maybe you could even do a Kickstarter to fund them. I just think that we all have to be like a lot scrappier, kind of. And you know, it is but when you're pitching your original ideas, there is a line to walk where it's like, you want it to be your voice, right? And to only could come from you, but you also need it to be somewhat marketable. Whether that's like horror or, you know, whatever it is, it needs to like speak to some audience, right? So you do need to consider those things. But in terms of like if you don't have the resources, you might think about taking a step back, not trying to get funding to produce a whole series, and start somewhere, you know, a pilot or something.
Yeah. Have you ever faced that confrontation about maybe the showrunners, producers, don't want you to go that way with your projects and want to suggest something that's, I don't know, cheaper to make, but really clashes with your idea?
Well, Strawberry Vampire, I pitched to a studio, and I had a really cool exec who gave me really nice, transparent feedback, but she was basically like, this would need to change a lot for it to fit with our, you know, what we're trying to do here. So it's up to you. I don't want to change your idea. And I decided to walk away from that opportunity and not let it be changed dramatically, because it was so special and personal to me. So it's really up to you. But no, I'll tell you one thing, no producer wants a creator who doesn't have a perspective or point of view, and who just says yes to every note and goes in whatever direction they send you in on whatever day, because they don't really know what they want. It's kind of it's more of like a collaboration. Yeah. Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
If I already have the whole production documents, including some screenplays, what do you recommend to do next to show my project to a bigger studio like Apple TV Plus?
I mean, there are a lot of animation events around and a lot of pitch programs. You know, I think there's definitely picking and choosing you would have to do, because travel is expensive, you know. But I would first try bringing your project somewhere and doing, like they have speed pitching, just getting the reps in and the practice in, and meeting people. Because any opportunity to meet someone is a great opportunity, even if they say, you know what, I'm not interested in this, or this isn't what we're looking for right now. Like, you never know where relationships will lead. So I would say, like, again, I know a lot of us are introverted, but pushing ourselves to get out there and mingle with other people in the community, like, will make your chance higher of someone giving you the time, you know. Because painfully, no one is like looking for you to hear your $1 million pitch, you know. You need to make it so they can't ignore you, basically. Yeah.
Hi, Emily. Do you ever worry or think about your copyrights, for example, or like at what point in your creative process do you start like sharing it with anybody, or you just don't, or at all? Like, do you just from the first moment start posting everywhere, it doesn't matter, or do you keep like a little bit of I don't know, like private, or do you like, how do you handle that, or at what point during the production do you
Yeah.
Does it matter at all? or-
I think it does. Like, I won't share an idea that is like half baked, you know, like that I haven't figured out all the way, kind of to a point I'm happy with, because I want to be confident about whatever idea I'm putting out, like especially the concept, you know, and the characters. So I think that's kind of a choice everyone has to make, like how done is done. You know, things can always change in development, but I think once you feel really good about something, that you should feel fine to share it. I never really worry about copyright. Like, my philosophy in general is that there are only so many ideas in the world, and ideas are naturally gonna cross over, but it really comes down to the way those ideas are executed, and that gives the thing its personality and voice. Like, for example, I had a show at Disney a few years ago that was about two best friends who make each other friendship bracelets in 3rd grade, and it turns out they're magical, and we cut to 6th grade and they're having a falling out, but they can't get their bracelets off, and it turns out their friendship is gonna save the world, blah, 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 but they need to stay friends. Then I see this Forgotten Island movie come out, and this canceled Pixar movie called like Be Free, that's about these two female best friends. Do I think they copied me? No. Like, it just means I was vibing on, you know, the moment, kind of. So, and then the realistic thing is like, too, if they did copy you, are you gonna go to court with one of these studios? Like, because you're gonna lose, you know? So you just have to trust that what you're gonna put out there is gonna be unique enough that no one can really copy it. But then if you're gonna do merchandise and stuff, that's another story. And like, yeah. Yeah.
Hi, over here. Hi.
Hi.
What do you think that it has to be our goal? To create something, to sell it to a bigger studio, or to focus in something that we can create in a collaboration environment? I mean, like founding or something like that. In your experience, I mean, the way that you see the industry goes to a future.
Well, I think that if you do get someone to produce your thing, that's awesome. Like, it's a great experience and it's a great opportunity. But I just think it's also an option to go a different route. And, you know, the fact is they're scouring the earth to find IPs that have built-in fan bases, basically. So the more you grow your IP, theoretically, the more like appetizing it will look to those money people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for sharing. How do you decide which parts of an original IP should be shared publicly to build an audience, and which parts should be protected for future episodes or partners?
Yeah, I try to find moments that don't spoil everything, but maybe give just enough of a taste of something for someone to want to know more, basically. So, like, I haven't shared that whole scene with the internet yet, but I did share up to the point where she, like, snaps. But I don't, the bat stuff, the bat puberty stuff is, like, the big idea of the episode, so I don't want to totally spoil it yet.
Okay. Well, thank you.
If that helps.
Hi, around the back here. Here all the way.
Oh, hi.
Hey, how's it going? Just one small question. I was close to a friend who was working in a production, and he told me that they were working from a pitch without much art, starting to develop a series, and it was, everything was agreed upon. And I thought, and the people involved didn't want much art to be done because they wanted to have a say. That got me thinking, is there something like a pitch that's too finished?
It depends who you're pitching to, because there's a difference between a development executive optioning your idea to develop with you and people who are looking to acquire shows. But in most cases with the acquisition, you would have had produced something that they can acquire. So yeah, typically you just want to have enough artwork so they get the show, but you don't need to art direct the whole dang thing. Yeah, I think that most development executives like it to be a collaboration, so yeah.
Right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry we don't have more time, but please a big applause to Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the information and for all the tips. I'm going to say this in Spanish, if you don't mind, to everyone else. Le digo que, bueno, me imagino que todos entienden perfectamente, pero nos dimos cuenta de algunas de las preguntas que hicieron varios de ustedes, que dónde podemos hacer más cosas. Y precisamente este tipo de eventos, como lo es Ideatoon, tenemos Shortwave, que fue hace unos meses, y en noviembre va a ser Pixelatl. Así que estén pendientes, métanse a las redes de Pixelatl, estén ahí, porque precisamente como decía acá nuestra compañera, yo sé hacer unas cosas, pero no sé hacer otras. Para eso es Pixelatl, como uno de nuestros eslogans, por así decirlo, del manifiesto de hace unos años se llamaba Aquí te encuentras. Y precisamente es esto, aquí se encuentra la comunidad creativa de México, de Latinoamérica, de diferentes partes del mundo. Como ya lo saben, ¿podemos decir el país invitado? ¿Ya se sabe? Bueno, el país invitado de honor es Francia. Viene la gente de Annecy, del Festival de Annecy. Entonces, este año Pixelatl cumple 15 años. Va a ser un súper festival, así que no se lo pierdan. Ahí pueden encontrarse con todos estos mentores, con todas las mentes creativas y ahí hacer estos encuentros. Y también, bien importante, dicen muchos, ¿quién es más fácil? ¿Quiénes no son de Guadalajara? Bueno, sí, hay algunos que no son de Guadalajara. Bueno, nuestros invitados de Ideatoon. Pero el gobierno de Guadalajara tiene un programa que se llama Creativa GDL. Y Creativa GDL, lo invitamos aquí para precisamente decirles a ustedes esta convocatoria que había cerrado antier, el domingo, pero precisamente por tanta demanda se amplió al 9 de agosto. Y precisamente es para todos ustedes creativos que tienen una idea, que la quieren desarrollar y que no saben por dónde. Creativa les va a presentar ahorita una súper oportunidad que se da aquí en Guadalajara y es para todos ustedes, para todos los creativos. Y bueno, pues ahora Jechu les va a decir mucho más. Entonces démosle un aplauso para recibir a Jechu Cepeda, por favor.
Muchas gracias. A ver si se puede proyectar, si no, estoy seguro que les puedo compartir pues esta propuesta que tenemos por acá. Oigan, ¿podrían echarme la manita? Y qué gusto también ver personas conocidas. Wow, hace rato no venía de Ciudad Creativa. Que levante la mano quienes tienen una idea de proyecto. ¿Puede levantar la mano? Exacto, estoy en el lugar adecuado. ¿Y quiénes de esas ideas ya empezaron un poquito a trabajarlas? ¿Puede levantar la mano? A todo dar, a todo dar. Pues justo el día de hoy, si logramos proyectar, van a ver un poquito de la press. Si no, lo que traigo para ustedes el día de hoy es un programa de incubación. A mí personalmente, Jechu Cepeda, hablando como emprendedor, que hoy me toca estar en la parte operativa, en la parte de este proyecto, pero como emprendedor, estando sentado como ustedes, alguna vez un programa de incubación me cambió muchísimo la perspectiva, me cambió muchísimo la forma de ver el tipo de proyectos, de ver incluso hasta la vida profesional, que después me hizo sentido en muchas cosas. Pero un programa de incubación lo que apoya es que esas ideas que tienen pasan por un proceso de aprox 4 meses, donde cada semana nosotros los estamos capacitando, pero no en este caso como Ideatoon, que les ofrece habilidades técnicas, que eso es muy valioso. Somos todos una comunidad por acá. Entonces nosotros lo que queremos es que podamos llevar esas ideas a algo tangible, pero que desde el lado que puedan hacerlo business, ¿no? Que del lado que puedan hacerlo negocios. Entonces nos complementamos súper chido. Acá la parte de pues todo el ecosistema Pixelatl está constantemente con Shoreway, con Ideatoon, brindándoles esta parte técnica, capacitación, sobre todo para que el talento, que ustedes son el talento, pues realmente tenga todavía más valor y todavía esté más desarrollado. Y nosotros somos esa parte de, oye, hay talento, hay que hacerlo business, que haya dinero, que se pueda lograr algo más y que puedan vivir de eso. Porque nosotros al hacer eso logramos que haya muchas más personas interesadas, que el gobierno, que en este caso me toca representar al gobierno de Guadalajara, valide que sí hay una comunidad y que sí podemos seguirle apostando, que sí podemos traer más financiamiento al tema de animación, al tema de producción, al tema de las 4 industrias específicas que en esta ocasión les vamos a estar apoyando o vamos a estar impulsando es el tema de videojuegos, desarrollo de videojuegos, el tema de producción audiovisual y producción musical. Entonces, si alguien también trae por ahí temas de cortos, documentales, su propia banda, su propia intención de generar música, son bienvenidas y bienvenidos. Y los otros 2 que también hacen mucho más sentido, sobre todo el tema de animación y arte digital. O sea, ustedes que son artistas digitales son emprendedoras y emprendedores que queremos que sean parte del programa. Y el último, que es como el más novedoso, creación de contenido. Pero sobre todo de una perspectiva diferente. Nosotros creemos y queremos, ojo con esas 2 cosas, que quienes se dedican a la creación de contenido tengan realmente un panorama justo, que realmente pueda haber una forma de vivir y de ser profesionistas o tener un emprendimiento alrededor de la creación de contenido, porque eso es lo que buscamos para Guadalajara y para Jalisco, ¿no? Que las personas realmente se puedan dedicar a esto. Ay, muchísimas gracias, me voy a ir súper rápido. Sí, no, el programa, bueno, es importante mencionarlo, gracias Mariana. Si bien opera en Guadalajara, realmente es un programa a nivel Latinoamérica. Tenemos la modalidad híbrida, ahí está un poquito de lo que les mencionaba. Si tienen una idea, aquí es el espacio, Creativa es el espacio. Tendremos sesiones en Ciudad Creativa, o sea, son 2 cosas diferentes pero complementarias. Creativa es el programa de impulso, Ciudad Creativa es aquí donde estamos. O si ya tienen un prototipo, demo, unas primeras ventas, con algo que nos puedan demostrar que van avanzando y que podemos invertirles a ustedes, o sea, ahorita voy con tema de inversión, que podemos apostar por ustedes, eso es lo que buscamos en los proyectos. Estas son nuestras 4 industrias que estamos impulsando. Ya conocen de qué va cada una, ustedes son parte. Y justo mencionaban por acá, me acuerdo, ahorita escuché las preguntas, oye, si yo tengo una idea y no tengo nada alrededor, ¿dónde puedo ir? ¿Dónde? Acá con nosotros, de verdad nos encantaría que postulen. Hay un ecosistema padrísimo alrededor de Creativa y hay financiamiento al final, ¿ok? Tampoco es como dinero para todas y todos, que nos encantaría y queremos llegar a eso, pero al final sí son proyectos muy destacados, sobre todo de cada una de estas 4. O sea, si tú eres el más destacado o la más destacada en creación de contenido porque arrancaste en un inicio y le creciste durante los 4 meses, te llevas 30,000 pesos de ganancia. Y si eres la más destacada o el más destacado de todo el programa, te llevas 200,000 pesos. ¿Okay? Y solo son 30 proyectos, entonces las posibilidades mayores. Tenemos un chorro de postulaciones. Al final seleccionamos a solo 30 y alrededor tenemos... Alrededor del programa tenemos muchos más eventos, muchos más espacios en alianza con todas y todos los involucrados al ecosistema creativo. Tenemos algo padrísimo que es que tienes a un mentor o mentora que te acompaña desde el primer día. Eso está buenísimo. Es de lo más valioso. Personas han hecho súper amistades de esa persona y se han integrado a sus equipos. Está súper interesante. O después de que acaba el programa se siguen viendo, se siguen apoyando. Siempre han apoyado Startup Advisor, pero no solo este mentor de plantas, sino hay en temas financieros, en temas legales, en temas de marketing. De verdad estamos apostando porque ustedes, que a pesar de que no somos del lado de negocios, entendamos el mundo y podamos crear algo chido al respecto. Los invito, o el call to action es súmense al grupo de WhatsApp. ¿Qué logramos con esto? Que de entrada ya son parte de esta comunidad donde estamos compartiendo eventos como, o oportunidades como Ideatoon, como el mundo de Pixelatl, que también siempre estamos presumiendo todo lo que hacen Mariana y Chris y todo el equipo. De aquí de Ciudad Creativa, o sea, denle, únanse, ahí les estamos compartiendo. Sobre la convocatoria tenemos un deadline, ojo con esto, es el 9 de agosto, o sea, el domingo de la próxima semana. Y nosotros lo que pedimos una pequeña presentación de 10 diapositivas de cuál es esa idea, ¿ok? Entonces, para que estemos trabajando en eso, ahí en el grupo de WhatsApp, pregúntenos, oigan, pásenme el manual para hacer el pitch o la presentación. Les pasamos, ahí les pasamos la liga de convocatoria, creativagdl.com, donde pueden encontrar más info. Todos celulares, quiero ver. En verdad, gracias por la oportunidad. Sigan echando, sigan aprovechando. Gracias Mariana, gracias Chris, gracias a todo el equipo. Y pues los dejo aquí para que sigan con este súper espacio de Ideatoon. Felicidades y gracias, muchachos.
Muchas gracias, Hechu. Si quieres, mientras ahí, déjalo. Gracias a todos. Thank you, everyone. Y hablando de todo lo que estamos hablando, no se pierdan las siguientes dos conferencias. The next one is in Spanish, just so everyone knows as well. Pero va a estar muy interesante porque nos va a acompañar un super estudio que ha logrado producir y distribuir una serie mexicana, así que no se vayan muy lejos, tomen un segundo para estirar las piernas, no se vayan muy lejos, porque tenemos la plática con Mr. Machine. Y después de eso, tenemos también una charla de un creador que hay... Perdón. Que está haciendo las cosas muy interesantes, que le ha tocado pasar por muchas de las cosas que están preguntando, hacer su propio trabajo, convencer a personas a que le ayuden. Entonces también más adelante tendremos la charla con Nick. Tomen 5 minutitos y nos vemos ahora. Gracias.